Welcome back to CSS3 Essentials, and today we're going to be taking a look at transformations. But we're going to do it a little bit differently this time because there's lots of options when you're experimenting. Now, we could use our editor, but in this case, we're going to use a site called tinkerbin.com. And what's really neat about this is it updates in real time. So if I add some HTML, close it out, you'll immediately see it show up here. And the same thing for CSS and JavaScript. So it's a really easy way to play around with ideas. All right, so let's get into a transformation, and we're going to start by showing you the most obvious. How would you scale something? So let's see that. The first thing we need is an image to scale. I happen to have an image from NetTouch, so I will paste that in right now. And there we are. So what I want to have happen is when I hover over this image, I want it to scale and maybe get 20% bigger or something like that. What we can do is I can say image hover, and when I do, we're going to use a transformation. So I will say WebKit transform. Remember, the official form will be transform, but it needs to be WebKit in my browser at the time of this recording. And we are going to scale it. And why don't we just do 2 for now, 200%. Hover over it, and instantly it is 200% bigger. And what's really nice about this is, watch what happens if I repeat this a handful of times. And rather than transforming it, when you hover over it, we are going to set the width maybe to 400 pixels, which is the same as twice as much. If I hover over it, it is bigger, but notice it's affecting everything around it, as it should. When you apply a transformation, though, that's not going to happen. If I get rid of this, and now if I hover over it, you can see it's increasing, but it's not affecting its surroundings. It's almost like it increases as an absolutely positioned element. So that can be really helpful, maybe if you have a image gallery and you hover over each one and it just gets a little bit larger, maybe 20% like we've done here. And what's nice about that is you can do these sorts of things and it's not going to screw up your layout, which can be really irritating if you've experimented. All right, let's take a look at one or two more before we start with our actual project. Here, why don't we rotate it? When you hover over it, I'm going to rotate it, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. And you know what? Let's change this to 90 degrees. So I hover over it, and now you can see it's 90 degrees rotated. But this is very instant. Wouldn't it be neat if we could transition that? And we can. We can take advantage of CSS3 transitions, which we've learned a little bit about. Now, it's always a good idea to apply your transitions on the default state, not the hover state. WebKit transition, and what are we transitioning? Everything? In this case, I'm only going to transition WebKit transform. And we'll do that over the course of 1 second. So with that alone, now when I hover over it, it will rotate over the course of 1 second. And then when I mouse off it, it rotates back. But that's a little slow. Why don't we set it to about 0.3 seconds? And I'm also going to give some margin right of 50 pixels and margin bottom, just so they have a little more room. Now I hover over it, and we're rotating our images. And we did this with 2 lines of code. Isn't that really neat? Now, if we would like to add more, we can rotate. You can simply add a space and scale 20%. And now you can see it rotates and scales simultaneously. Really, really cool. All right, so that's the basics of transforms. In the next video, we're going to get started with our project where we'll build a little flip card, and you're going to get to learn some cool 3D techniques.